Is it for you then well, the radio and music, was it also something that intrigued you because you couldn't see, or?
I don't think so.
No?
No, I think it was just, you know, I had an interest in music and an interest in radio, and I think I would have had those two interests whether I was blind or not, excuse me, whether I was blind or not, so.
Okay, and is it for you, well, you were saying record, and you were, as a child, you were into lots of different music. What was the record that your dad had that you played the most? Because your dad is from Argentina. As a dancer.
A lot of folk music at first. A lot of Argentine folk music. I played. He had a record called La Misa Criolla that I played a lot. Mercedes Sosa I listened to a lot. Atahualpa Yupanqui. All of that stuff. And then later, when I was about 9 or 10, I got into jazz a lot. So I listened to a lot of his jazz records. But he also had a lot of real contemporary classical composers, a lot of, things like Stravinsky and Schoenberg and Stockhausen, and all of that really kind of opens up your ears, especially when you're a little kid.
Stockhausen is, can be well, a bit hard to follow if you're not into his music, but...
Yeah, but you know, when you're a kid, you just hear it as sound.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it as hard to listen to. I just heard it. And, you know, he had John Cage records. I was fascinated by that stuff.
How come? Why? What?
Well, he had a record called, I think it was called Improvisations, Volume something. And it was a record where it was just a collage of different sounds that were triggered in different ways, or triggered by people moving, I think, or something like that. And it fascinated me because it sort of sounds like what it sounds like when I just walk around, you know.
Okay, yeah.
So it was really fascinating to me. I still wish I could find that on CD. It probably is on CD. We had them on records, so.
And is it for you then are there still sounds that you still remember? Certain sounds that were on that album that maybe 10 or 20 years later you walked around?
Yeah, I mean, I remember it would switch back and forth between different radio stations that were tuned, and there was a microphone on the street, and it was just really cool.
Is it for you, because well, your own music is more with certain influences, but it's more melody orientated?
Right.
So when did it for you? Do you still, well, when did that influence come into your life, melody wise and? I
mean, it's always been there. You know, I listened to a lot of music, and I think, you know, I started composing music before I started writing songs. So I was into melodies and chords and you know, from a very early age, I mean.
But how come you started playing flamenco? Because
it was the first, flamenco was the first teacher that I studied with.
But how come? Because when you're a kid and then starting with flamenco?
Because that's the kind of house we lived in. We didn't live in a rock and roll, you know. My father was not into pop music at all.
Okay.
He was into all of this stuff. Pop music was around, so I heard it, you know. But my father was into all this other stuff, flamenco, tango, folk music, John Cage, you know, everything but pop music.
Okay.